Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert with the Ted Show. I had to go somewhere with a hat on earlier, and you don't want hat heads, so we just threw one baseball cap out and threw some fedora in. I'm super excited to be here with the one and only Chris Rock with RockPit Brewing. What's up, Chris?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Just sitting outside and drinking some beer and some water.
Yes, I'm about to join him, guys. If you could see the beautiful thing that they brought me over so that I could taste some of them, and I'm very excited. But enough about me. They want to get to know you, so tell them a little bit about you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, my name's Chris Rock. My business partner. I have a couple business partners, but the one that is in the name RockPit is my cousin Jeremy Pittman, and Jeremy Pittman is related to nearly everyone in Conway. So he knows everyone. So that's how you know him. But no, so just to give you a little bit of backstory, Jeremy and I, that's my wife's cousin, and I hadn't really known Jeremy probably until about 2015 when he opened up his homebrew shop over on Curry Ford. Went in there, started homebrewing again, and created a great relationship with him. One day I walked in and he said, one of my dreams was to open up a brewery when I opened up this place, and I just didn't have the wherewithal, the funds, whatever. And he's like, do you want to open up a brewery? I said, yeah, he's a lot bigger than I am, so I couldn't say no. So I was forced into, no, I'm just kidding. So we started going back and forth and coming up with different names like Eola and Sandcastle and Orange Grove and all these Orlando-based things. And we finally just said, let's do like our names, Pit Rock or Rock Pit or something like that. And as soon as I said Rock Pit, he's like, yes, that's it. And then I had homebrewed several years ago with my other business partner, Sean Burke. And at the end of brewing with him, he said to me, one day I'm going to open up a brewery. And long story short, we hooked back up, and he's like, I gave him a beer that I made a homebrew of, and I won a contest. And he goes, this is something that I want to do. I want to open up a brewery. And I said, you know what? That's funny you should say that. My cousin wants to meet you. And then we established a business in 2017, got our place in January 2018, took a year to build it out, and then we opened up in February 2019. So we've been open up for a little more than a year now.
You had a big to-do, I remember. Mm-hmm. Lots of people were invited. You had a big kickoff.
Yes.
I'd love to see any kind of local business, especially locally brewed, so to speak.
Yeah.
That was a terrible joke. But I love to see the success. You guys are really great on social media. You are not afraid to be a proponent in your community, that I know, which is really awesome.
No.
So talk about what transpired or how you guys began to realize that COVID-19 was going to make an impact, and then what did you do?
Yeah, so that was interesting because I saw were other states and locales, like in North Carolina, South Carolina, they were starting to shut stuff down. And as soon as I started seeing that stuff shut down, I said, I'm the guy that handles all the marketing, the technology, well, Sean too, but the website and all that. And I said, I need to do something right away because we're going to be shut down, and we're only going to be able to do to go. And so one of my favorite things to do is make it extremely easy for people to do business with me. And so I set up the website, I put a online store, and it's extremely easy to go on there and order and then come here and pick it up and take it to go. So that, along with some other things that we had to pivot super quick from in-house taproom sales, which is our lifeblood, to going into 100% out the door. So we had to scramble a little bit there. We rely on having cans so that you can take cans with you, and we run out of cans. So the greatest thing about being a brewery is that all the other breweries, we're competitors and we want to sell more beer than the other guy, but we also help each other out. So we ran out of cans. So we went to Sideward, we went to Ivanhoe, we went to Hourglass, and we went and picked up a bunch of cans from them, and they were so gracious because without that, we were dead in the water. We had ordered cans, and like everything else at that time, everything was taking an extremely long time. to get here. So they sustained us, and we were able to return the favor to a couple other breweries that were running out of cans. And so that's like one of the coolest things about this
That's
industry is
very cool. It feels like the community, the brewing. I've had Glenn on the show from
yes,
Ivanhoe.
Ivanhoe, yeah.
It seems like your community definitely very much more cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
Never any, there's. I mean, I'm hoping it's because you're drinking amazing craft beer all
Yes,
day. So of
yeah,
course you're in a good mood, but
yeah.
it just seems like everybody's very supportive.
Absolutely, and that, again, that's one of the best things about this is that um, even in times of good and bad, we're all trying to do stuff together. Like we're doing a big collaboration with Tactical Brewing over in Baldwin Park for July the 4th. So we all try to do cool things like that. And again, it's one of like collaboration things are really cool too. There's not a lot of that outside of this industry, and you're not going to go to maybe I'm wrong here, but two Italian restaurants are going to come together and create a dish and then serve it, right?
It would be interesting to see
Yeah,
if there's more collaboration out there because of this going on.
yeah.
I feel like the communities come together, but you guys are always in the. Thank you, Odalis. I'm looking at people are sending you love, by the way, Chris.
Okay.
You can look at it later,
Okay.
uh, but I think that you guys are always kind of forefront in the community. You seem like you're super involved. I mean, with all of the family connections, of course, you're super involved.
Of course.
Uh, but I feel like community is important to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we rarely turn down an opportunity to help someone in need or somebody that needs some presence somewhere. The whole dog thing, but there's, of course, the love bugs are back. Was it the Pixel Fund came here and did a big show, and that was awesome. Anytime that we can do some fundraising, anything like that, we're always giving money to the community. We advertise in the Boone High School. What are not the yearbooks, but the programs, the sports programs. Right. So yeah, we're always trying to. I mean, we're trying to give back to a community that's given to us. I mean, to be quite honest, they've given us way more than we've given them as far as support. We try to do as much as we can for them, but man, the community around here is insanely supportive, and it's been seriously, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be a success without them. So we try to give back as much as can.
All right, so talk about RockPit. Talk about, because I have a very delicious sour in front of me.
Yeah.
But if you want to tell me what I'm going to be drinking and then kind of give us a little bit of history. I think people think, all right, so they're a brewery. What does that mean? They make one type of beer. But you all do a lot. So
yeah. So we've done a lot of learning over the last year, and one of the things that we learned was people love new things, and so our business model, even when we were shut down as far as being on-site consumption, is release a new beer every week, and that's kind of a cool concept. Not a lot of places can do that. They can't just have a new food item every week or something. And I see some people doing it, but that's one of the things that made us super successful, because what happens is people see the new thing. They're like, oh, gotta have that. It's next week. Oh, gotta have that. Right. So they constantly see a rotation from us, and we have 20 beers on tap at, if we don't run out of it all, like we most of the time, but anywhere between 15 and 20 beers on tap, and they're all our beers. So it is not like we have 17 IPAs. We have, a few IPAs. We have like right now we have our Schwartz beer and a couple sours and some lagers and some blonde beers. Anything that you kind of like and it's out there in the community, like you can go to across the street to ABC and pick up. We have and we make here. Not all at once, but we have. We have a lot of variety here, and that's another thing that people really like about us is that they can come here, and if they like multi beers, guess what? They have a couple options. They do like that hoppy beer. Hey, we have some IPAs for you. So
I like that you speak the consumer language too, because
yes.
When I go in, I'm like, I need that one that's sort of hoppy but not that hoppy, and you guys speak. So I want to get to the sour. So
sure.
Explain what a sour is. The first time I went in, like to a place that I felt was true craft beer, and I saw sour on the menu, the first thing I thought of is, why would I ever drink anything sour? I'm so confused.
Well,
but I had to learn. Somebody educated me there at the place.
Yeah.
And so tell them about it.
it's sort of like whiskey sours, right? They're not super sour. They got some sweetness there and all that, but it depends on. So there's a huge variety of sours now, right? You have wild sours, which realistically is they take wild yeast and they put it in the beer and let it do its thing, and it creates just these wild flavors in it. We don't do those. Fun little fact about that is if you get a wild yeast in your beer anywhere, like if it's any one wild spore can kill your whole brewery, and you have to shut everything down, clean it all out, and then
Oh,
start over again. So
ouch.
we don't mess with the
You
wild
don't
yeast
mess with
side.
that.
Yes. So we do something called kettle souring, which essentially what that means is we make a beer, we sour it, sort of like almost like a yogurt type of sour, and it creates a very tart beer. And when it's kind of a misnomer, sour is not really the name that we should call it, but it's more of a tart beer. So like the beer that you're drinking is actually what's called a Berliner, and Berliners, um, they're they're from Germany. Um, and so what it is over there in Germany is you have a couple of choices there. And traditionally, the way that you drink that is either plain. Yeah, that's a crowler there. You either drink it plain, or they'll pump some raspberry syrup or Woodruff syrup. Now it's super hard to find Woodruff around here, so we're just doing the raspberry syrup right now. But what you end up with is just a really nice tart beer with some sweetness from that syrup, and it's a very easy drinking, clean beer. A little bit
It's
of tart there and sweet.
delicious.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
delicious. You
yeah,
know what? And the first thing I did the thing whenever I taste anything tart, but
yeah,
it was a good, it's that good tart.
yeah,
You like
yeah,
the tart, so this
yeah.
is delicious.
Well, thank
Yeah, I
you.
was
Yeah,
afraid the first time. I just didn't know what I was going to get. So I'm ordering stuff like a rookie would do, and I'm still not a pro. Trust me, I learn
no,
every day because you all are so creative. So let's talk a little bit as I'm enjoying about
yeah.
the creative process because obviously you get to choose
Hmm.
and you get to mix and match. And who would have thought to add the yogurt? I mean, so tell
Yeah,
us about the
it's
process.
not really yogurt. I always try to like come up with an analogy there, but it is something called lactobacillus. It's actually a beer thing that we put in there that does sour the beer. But either way, so yeah, creativity. That most of the creativity that comes from the brewery on the marketing side is me. On the beer side, that's Jeremy. Man, he just comes up with the coolest concepts, and him and our brewers will come up with some stuff, and they're like, hey, let's just brew something and see what happens. And we've had so many serendipitous things happen where we go, all right, let's give that a shot and see what happens. And like the beer we're doing this week, we first did it, I believe, in May of last year. It's called Jolly Quencher. It's a watermelon goza. So it's a sour, but it's sort of like a saltwater sour. Sounds weird, but it's super delicious. It tastes like a sour watermelon Jolly Rancher. And again, what it was is that we made our base beer, our Goza beer, and then we went over to a place called Florida Bulk that has a bunch of watermelon and put the watermelon in there. And a day later, we tasted it, and we were all just stunned. We're like, "Holy crap, that tastes amazing!" And it was really bizarre. So like February, March, April, May of last year, the number one selling beer here was our blonde ale. June and July, when we were constantly churning out Jolly Quencher, that was the biggest seller. It sells out so quick because it's a refreshing beer. People love the fact that it's almost like a melted Jolly Rancher that they're drinking.
That's
And
what
the
I
cool thing,
envision.
yeah, and the cool thing is it's a simple beer. There's not any sugar added, anything like that. It's literally watermelon that we've added to it. So, and it's very simple.
What's the process like? See, I would be afraid that I would never get anything done if all of my vision is you just sit and you work some, but you taste all day.
Nah, we become disciplined. I think when we first started, it was we enjoy it, but we also get disciplined. Sorry, I'm waving bye to one of mine. Bye, Rach. Uh, we become disciplined on that. At the end of a shift, yeah, we'll have a couple beers and we'll be all right. But most of the time, back in the brewery, they're working so hard that if they have one or two beers, it's immediately out of their system, anyways. But it's not an easy gig being a brewer. There's a lot of laborious activities that you have to do, so you're going to sweat back there, even when in our cool brewery where it's 73 degrees. You're going to sweat because it's hard work, and you're near boiling water most of the time.
Yeah, I have seen from the outside in,
Mhm.
looked at, and there's also someone sort of in the industrial era that has a brewery that I've been inside, and it's I can see that part is really hot.
Yeah. Are you talking about over near Universal?
No, I think his name is John. He's an Orange
Oh,
Blossom, or
so you're talking about Orlando Brewing. Yeah,
yes.
he's over on Atlanta. He's about a 1 mile away from here. Yeah,
But
that's John.
that's where I saw what you're talking about. You almost feel you're like, okay, I don't want to be in there. I
Yes.
definitely want to be out
You want to
here.
be out in the tap room drinking, not back in the back hot area. Yeah.
So tell me about the second beer that I'm going to try. And I've
Which,
already finished my sample. I didn't finish the whole beer.
okay. I
My sample.
was going to say, that's pretty impressive. You drank
Yeah,
fast.
no, I'm trying to behave, Chris. I don't know why, but I'm
I
trying
don't
to.
know what you're doing that for. That's no fun. So which one are you trying now? I'm not.
This is the
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's
United, right?
yeah. So that's called Savages United. We have a line of beers here called Savages, and so a Savage is a coal miner. By the way, I don't know if you could tell, but we're a coal mining centric brewery. I forgot to go into that. We'll come back to that in a second. But a Savage is a guy if he was a coal miner that would go into the deepest, darkest pits of the coal mines. And they would always have that colloquial term of he's a savage because he's just going down and doing the dirty work that no one else wants to do. And so when we were coming up with names for our beers, we're like, that would be a really cool name for our New England IPAs. And so that's why we have it. So that beer there is actually an interesting story. Back when this all started, there was a brewery up in Brooklyn called Other Half Brewing. And what they wanted to do was help out the hospitality community. So they put together this thing called All.Together, or Alltogether.beer. And you can go to the website and see all the breweries that are part of it. What we all did as a brewing community, a lot of us, sorry, not, yeah, sorry, my buddy's pinging me right now.
You're good.
Blue collar centric, not coal mining. We are coal mining themed brewery. Either way, so they created this collaboration, and so what they did was give you the artwork, they gave you the recipe and loose recipe, and said, hey, if you want to make a West Coast style, which is a bitter IPA, or a hazy, or New England, which is more of a hazy, sort of not as bitter IPA, let's do it. But you have to commit to either giving the profits from that back to your own workers that have been affected, or the community that's been affected. So what we did is we're going to take the profits from that, and we're going to give it to the Orlando Bartenders Guild. Well, it's Bartenders Guild, because what they're doing is a really cool thing, is that if you have been affected, you can get a grant from them to put some money in your pocket during when you're unemployed. So we thought that was a cool thing, and luckily we've been fortunate that none of our bartenders have had to. Haven't had to furlough anybody. We've made up the funds for them if they were getting less tips. So we've been very fortunate to keep them out of the whole unemployment hell.
That's a huge blessing.
Yeah. So
all right, so this is delicious, but tell me what kind again? What am I drinking?
So that is a New England or a hazy IPA. So what those traditionally are is they're IPAs, and they're hoppy, but they're not bitter. And they're going to usually be a little bit more sweeter, just because there's not as much bitterness, and they're a little more full-bodied. So people that don't like IPAs, in fact, one of my friends, Scott, he didn't like IPAs at all. And we made a beer here called Haka Savage, made with all New Zealand hops. And it was delicious. I mean, it was just one of the best New Englands that we ever had here. Well, he hated IPAs until he started drinking that. And then, so what happened was he started drinking another New England IPA, and then he would try an IPA. Now he's a full-on IPA lover. So there's this progression that goes. If you don't like IPAs, if you don't like IPAs, try a New England or a hazy IPA. Get your feet wet with that, and then what's going to happen is you're going to go, I kind of like hops, and then you're going to be a full-on neckbeard, twirling your mustache. Neckbeard is as a reference to Jeremy. He's got the big old beard, so yeah.
You know what's great about IPAs is you really, for me, I had to find like that gentleman, like your friend. I had to find one that I liked, because the first one I had, I mean, it just slapped you in the face. It was So I'm like, okay, is there anything less? I don't want to get hurt out of this relationship. I want to taste it and kind of enjoy it.
Right.
So yeah, I can feel that. You know, the one that I have a hard time with a lot is when they the overly coffee ones.
Okay.
And I like a coffee, but sometimes I'm like, where's the beer? I want a little bit of a beer taste. So, and
Yeah.
I know that that's just a mixture thing, right? You got to
Yeah.
play with it, figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, definitely. So, it's just one of those adjuncts that you add is coffee is depending on what you're drinking. Like I know this is going to sound weird. There's a brewery out in Sanford called Deviant Wolf, and one of their most popular beers is called Sour Manjaro, and it is a coffee sour. It doesn't sound like it would be good, but it is delicious. And I think if you ever get Matt or Jonathan on the show, that's one beer you have to try because it's one like my wife loves that beer. It's like
That
one of
beer.
her. If she goes there, she's drinking Sour Majaro, and so am I. But you're right. So some coffee beers, like there's one from Terrapin that's a super coffee, wake and bake is what it's called, and, wake and bake, and very high ABV beer, but it also is super coffee, right? It's like you're drinking a coffee, and then about a halfway through that bottle, because it's 12%, you're going, that's not coffee.
Yeah, that's
My
the that's
artistic
the
like,
interesting thing about those. And in the early days, I remember one of my favorite things is when they would put the alcohol content on there, and you would really begin your evening with the one that had the most.
instead of
Terrible,
ending it,
terrible things
yes,
you do, but
yeah,
you learn. You also learn that it's like a wine or a scotch or a whiskey. You've got to kind of figure out what your taste
temper
is and
that.
develop it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right. So, how can people reach you? What can they get? What can they buy from you? You said you have the website. Um, Talk a little bit about that so that I can drive as many people to RockPit as possible.
Yeah, so right now, if you're doing the shelter in place and you want to stay at home and you still want to enjoy some craft beer, you can go to rockpitbrewing.com. Right on the homepage, there's a link. You can just order from us. Place your order, come in, pick it up, and go. There's no, yeah, that's really it.
Love it.
We're on Instagram, Facebook, all that at RockPit Brewing. You'll see a lot of weird stuff from us just because we're not normal. And yeah,
That's
lots of
good.
memes, lots of fun stuff. Yeah, and we're kind of out of the ordinary with a lot of the things that we do, and that's on purpose. So.
So, what I have to ask because I had people asking me when I began to share.
Mhm.
What's your favorite beer to drink?
So, like
One
on
of them.
our menu.
Yes, your
Okay,
menu.
yeah. So any of the Savage beers, like you're drinking there. But right now, I'm drinking like in this mug right here. This is my mug.
That's a
I'm
great
drinking
mug.
Miner's Light. So Miner's Light is our lager. If you ask the majority of brewery owners or mostly brewers, the people that are making the beer, they just love lagers and pilsners and extra special bitters. Those are the style of beers that we really like because they're clean and they're harder to make and they're harder to get right. And when you get it right and you nail it, you're just so proud that you're like, damn, I got a lager right on. And this beer right here is so dead on. It is so good and refreshing. It doesn't matter if it's 32 degrees outside or I don't know how hot it is again, 90 degrees. It is a perfect beer to just enjoy, snuggle up to, and consume in mass
Yeah.
amounts because it's only 5%. So you're okay with you're okay with drinking it a little bit more than the 12 percenters.
Well, that was awesome, man. I want to try more beers. So I can't wait. I want to do a show where I can come in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I think would be good. Show people the brewery. That's the plan anyway.
Yeah.
But until then, I put the website down at the bottom. It's scrolling. RockPit Brewing. Chris
.com.
Rock, you were a joy, man. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for taking time out. Thanks to
Yep.
Colleen for her help. Colleen
Yeah.
Murphy. You guys are amazing. So go visit when you can, but order from them, Rock Pit Brewing. All right. Thanks, buddy. Have a great one. Thank you
You as
so
well.
much.
Thank you, guys,
All
and
right,
thank you,
guys.
everyone.
We'll be back later. Reach out to him. See how easygoing the beer guy is? It's really awesome.
Yes.